ජීවිතේ වැඩිපුර ලැබෙන හොඳම දේවල් විඳින්න. දැන් SLT Broadband වෙතින් 75% දක්වා වැඩිපුර ඩේටා සතුට ජනවාරි 1 වෙනිදා සිට ශ්‍රී ලංකා ටෙලිකොම්.
Technical delay. Debate on Commission reports postponed for tomorrow due to non-availability of translated copies. Wholesale changes. Speculations rife on a new cabinet of ministers. Development targets. First draft of National Sustainability Dialogue, which was formulated by the 2030 Sustainability Vision Experts Committee, presented to President Maithripala Sirisena. Will the prices go up? Domestic LP gas importers seek for a price hike in the local market.
The depreciation of rupee also very adversely affected to our cost.
National Olympic Committee election. The chairman of the Amateur Rowing Association of Sri Lanka speaks out on issues of the National Olympic Committee.
We are in a very sorry state of non-governance, I would say.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhammika Kanaika. Let's start with your local stories. Now, the debate on reports by Presidential Commission of Inquiry to investigate and inquire into serious acts of fraud, corruption and abuse of power, state resources and privileges, as well as the Commission of Inquiry into central bank bond issuances was postponed to tomorrow. The postponement of the cabinet came as parliamentarians representing the Tamil National Alliance raised their objections to continue the session as Tamil and English translations of the reports were not made available to Parliament. Meanwhile, a heated situation arose during the session when parliamentarians of the opposition raised questions on the tenure of the national government.
The two parties got together and formed a so-called national government. According to the 19th Amendment, it is only if there is a national government that the number of cabinet ministers can be increased to more than 30. Now that the duration of 2 years has expired for the national government, they should get permission from Parliament to increase the number of cabinet ministers. We are not ready to accept any powers vested with these invalid cabinet ministers or ask them any questions. There are 24 ministers, state ministers and deputy ministers whose positions are not legal or constitutional, and we don't even know who they are. Their tenure expired a month and 20 days ago. You haven't informed the Parliament of being united. So these two parties must let the Speaker know through a document whether they are going to continue with the national government together or not. It is the Parliament which has the power to instruct what to do when there are more than a certain number of cabinet ministers. It is your responsibility to see whether they still have the necessary powers or whether they are using any powers that have ceased. The said 2 years time duration has expired. Did they or did they not inform you whether they extended their duration?
Meanwhile, parliamentarians also focused on issues pertaining to women representation at local authorities following the election.
All the national papers reported that party leaders unanimously made a decision to disregard the requirement of women representation in the local authorities election. 3 nomination papers of the Sri Lanka Pojana Peramana were rejected because they didn't fulfill this particular requirement. In that backdrop, it is not at all fair to make this kind of a decision. The chairman of the Election Commission, its officials as well as the subject minister and ministry secretary discussed this issue in length yesterday. They were able to solve this issue to a great extent. All of the political parties had to exclude experienced politicians to pave way for women politicians. It is unfair to them, so please change this decision. What we discussed yesterday was to continue with the requirement of 25% women representation, but we can't apply this rule for certain electorates, and that's why we took a decision to make necessary amendments for them later on. We never said we will reduce women's representation. That's a wrong view.
In the meantime, a new cabinet is set to be announced on Thursday, with inside government sources saying that the matter will be finalised by tomorrow. The weekly cabinet meeting was held today as usual under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena.
The cabinet today met President Maithripala Sirisena for only the second time following the local authorities election. It is reported that all ministers representing the United People's Freedom Alliance and the United National Party were present. At the end of the meeting, journalists questioned the cabinet ministers on the latest situation of the national government.
He didn't speak about a national government. When cabinet meetings are held, it's evident that it continues. All in the UNP are of the view that the Prime Minister should continue to be. We will resolve the party's internal issues. SLFP doesn't have the right to make decisions on what's happening in the UNP. It is the right of the UNP to make a decision on the Prime Minister.
In the meantime, responding to journalists, the General Secretary of UPFA speculated on the future of the government of good governance.
No such decision is made yet. After that month, the President will make a decision that is conducive for the people of this country, following legal consultations. Yes, that stance has not changed. We won't depreciate the phrase good governance. The government will continue. How it will be done will be decided soon.
In the meantime, former President Mahinda Rajapaksa yesterday insisted that the joint opposition be made the opposition in Parliament.
We request the position of leader of the opposition, and as the opposition we hope to be given due status.
However, the Tamil National Alliance was against the joint opposition being recognized as the parliamentary opposition.
President is the head of the government. When the leader of the UPFA is the head of the country, another member of the UPFA can't be appointed as the leader of the opposition. According to parliamentary tradition, the leader of the government and the leader of the opposition can't be of the same party.
In the meantime, several parties expressed views on the existing situation of the government.
The intention of President Sirisena is to postpone giving a political solution to the issue by pretending there is a legal issue. It has been 10 days since the election, but there isn't a government yet. They are not trying to develop the economy or to stabilize the country. We ask them to dissolve the parliament in consideration of the people of this country.
Meanwhile, Archbishop of Colombo, His Eminence Malcolm Cardinal Ranjit, calls for all political leaders to take measures towards resolving the existing political crisis.
What we request is for all the politicians to come together, setting aside all the squabbles over power, to solve the issue in consideration of the country and its people. The Chief Prelate of Malwatta also made it clear the President has few more years to govern the country. Therefore, join the President and resolve this issue.
Newly elected members to the Maharagama Urban Council who contested from the independent group under the symbol of the bicycle filed a complaint with the Election Commission today. They say that threats are levelled against them, demanding them to step down. In light of the claims, election monitors say that there are no hindrances for them to continue given the legality of their appointments.
5 candidates of an independent group who won the recent local authorities poll for the Maharagama Urban Council while contesting under the symbol of bicycle filed a complaint at the Election Commission this afternoon. They allege that 7 candidates who were appointed as members to the Maharagama Municipal Council were being threatened by a certain faction demanding they step down.
If a certain faction is levelling threats at them to step down, then it is illegal. We believe that these members are able to continue in their positions at the Maharagama Urban Council without an issue.
Meanwhile, the March 12th movement said that they received complaints pertaining to appointments at local authorities.
These days, the political parties are preparing the main positions as a chairman and also the mayor, deputy mayor in the place where they have get the majority. And also we notice the political parties are selecting their representative from the PR list, especially the women representative and the male representative from the PR list. So we have received so many complaints during last 1 week period about these selections, especially for the chairmen and the mayors in the local authorities level. We wish to request from all the political parties, the people of the country, they have serious about these elections, but they were not considered the local contest. They were considered the national politics and they vote for their party party leaders. So this is the time party leaders to pay the respect for their voters, to select the best person in the local authorities level to run the local authority. Initially, this will decide by the area organizer, even though it is law says that it is responsibility of the party secretary.
Parliamentarian Udaya GAMMANPILA casts doubt over the time frame of the provincial council election, saying the relevant delimitation process is already behind schedule. The parliamentarian's views came during a media briefing held in Colombo today.
20th September 2017, Prime Minister gave a pledge to the nation through the Parliament that although we are going to postpone the Provincial Council election to delimit the electorates, we will definitely hold the elections by 31st March 2018. He further promised to produce the delimitation report within 4 months. 4 months from the 20th September means by 20th January 2018, the report would be ready. Now we are on the 20th February 2018. We are 1 month away. Delimitation Commission has produced a report and handed it over to the minister, but having a delay of 1 month. Therefore, after handing over the report, there are several steps to be taken. Firstly, minister should table this in the parliament. Secondly, it should be debated and approved with the 2/3 majority. If the report fails to obtain 2/3 majority, then there should be a committee chaired by the Prime Minister to deliberate it and make the suitable amendments. Therefore, we are of the view that not only the holding elections, they can't even approve the delimitation report by 31st March 2018. Hence, holding provincial council elections by 31st March 2018 is another lie of Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back. You're watching First at 9. Now we continue with more local stories. The National Economic Council convened today under the patronage of President Maithripala Sirisena. During the meeting, it was decided that the much-needed program with economic reforms will be tabled next week through the National Economic Council.
The National Economic Council, appointed by President Maithripala Sirisena to make decisions on strengthening the economy, convened for the 8th occasion today. During the meeting at the Economic Council, much-needed changes and steps that are needed to achieve those changes for the country and programs that should be conducted in the short run and long run were extensively discussed. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe and Ministers Sarath Amanugama, Mangala Samaraweera, Nima Siripala de Silva, Malik Samaravikrama, John Seniviratne and Sajith Premadasa were amongst those who were present at the discussion. Meanwhile, the first draft of National Sustainability Dialogue was presented to President Maithripala Sirisena at the Presidential Secretariat this afternoon. The dialogue is drafted in order to list out the sustainable development targets to be achieved by Sri Lanka in economic, social and environmental spheres by the year 2030. This is the first time such a draft for a national sustainability dialogue has been formulated, and the government expects to hold a nationwide debate on this draft. After conclusion, the National Sustainability Dialogue will be officially released. Meanwhile, the decision to hand out tabs to A-level students and teachers has been postponed by the Cabinet of Ministers.
The Anunayak of the Ramanya sector, Most Venerable Girambe Anandathera, passed away today. He passed away at the age of 80 while being treated at the Sri Jayawardhanapura Hospital this morning.
The Anunayaka of the Ramanya sector, Most Venerable Girambe Anandathera, was the chief incumbent at the Anuradhapura Sri Saranananda Mahapirivena. The Thera was being treated at the Sri Jayawardhanapura Hospital when he passed away this morning. Most Venerable Girambe Anandathera, who was born on the 19th of May 1938 in the village of Girambe, was ordained on the 1st of January in 1949. The Thera, who rendered an incomparable service to the country, held many positions, including that of Anunayaka of the Ramanya sector. The remains of the Thera were brought to Sri Saranananda Pirivena in Peradeniya this evening, and it will be kept at the temple for public respects until tomorrow morning. Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe too paid his final respects to the Thera this afternoon. At 9:30 tomorrow morning, the remains will be taken to the Saranananda Pirivena in Anuradhapura, and the final rites will be conducted at Harishchandra grounds in Anuradhapura on the coming Saturday.
Litrogas Lanka and Laughs Holdings Limited are seeking a price hike for liquid petroleum gas cylinders. They have requested the Consumer Affairs Authority to increase the price in the local market following recent Sri Lankan rupee depreciation and global price increase for the product over the past year. Group Chairman of Laughs Holdings, W.K.H. Vagapitiya, says their estimated price increase is calculated to be around 400 rupees. Meanwhile, Minister of Industry and Commerce Rishad Badiuddin emphasised that the government has not yet made a decision to increase price of LP gas.
Global crude oil prices and seasonal changes are recognized to be two main reasons for price changes of liquid petroleum gas. It is common for LP gas prices to increase during the winter season. It was in this backdrop that the price of a 12.5 kilogram domestic gas cylinder was increased by 110 rupees on the 25th of September last year. Accordingly, the current maximum retail price of a 12.5 kilogram cylinder of LP gas in the district of Colombo stands at 1,431 rupees. The chairman of the Laughs Holdings, however, states that further increase in LP gas prices is required following the high prices in the global market for the product during last 6 months.
During previous years, per ton Saudi Aramco contract price, which is the world market price, is about $450 per metric ton. This year, it has gone up to $550. Meantime, the depreciation of rupee also very adversely affected to our cost. Many years ago, Consumer Affairs Authority and gas companies together introduced import parity pricing formula. But unfortunately, during last almost couple of years, it was not properly implemented. Before the election, the Cost of Living Committee agreed they need to revisit this pricing formula. The recent price application we forwarded to Consumer Affairs Authority is requesting almost 400 rupees per cylinder increase.
Responding to inquiries by other Derana, Director of Sales and Marketing of Litro Gas Lanka, Chamidedri Vikrama, also emphasised the need for a proper implementation of a suitable pricing formula for LP gas. He said Litro Gas Lanka has made continuous requests to Consumer Affairs Authority over the past 2.5 years to increase prices of the product. Meanwhile, Minister of Industry and Commerce Rishad Badiuddin expressed these views during a media briefing held in Colombo today.
Different companies always request the Consumer Affairs Authority to increase prices of products. That's why there is a chairman, price fixing committee, cost of living committee. Final decisions have to be made after these entities look into relevant requests. We made a decision at a cabinet meeting to introduce a price formula which will allow the prices to be changed in accordance with the global LP prices. The local LP prices will be set according to this formula in the future. Prices might increase by 500 rupees the day after tomorrow, or it might decrease by 200 rupees after a month.
UPFA MP Bandula Gunawardena says that the joint opposition will be filing a petition against the Liability Management Bill at the Supreme Court within 7 days. He made this remark while addressing a media briefing in Colombo today.
According to the third clause of the bill, it states that the government can obtain loans to raise a sum of money which will not exceed 10% of the total outstanding debt outside Sri Lanka. This will go straight to the hands of the Prime Minister. The fraud which took place at the central bank was because of a loan of 1 billion rupees. Now they are trying to pave the way to obtain loans which will amount to 1,000 billion rupees. The group who are the creators of the bill was led by former central bank governor Arjuna Mahindran. We will be addressing a letter to President Maithripala Sirisena signed by Mahinda Rajapaksa and relevant party leaders to halt the passage of the bill. We also hope to file a petition at the Supreme Court within 7 days.
මේ පිළිබඳ පෙත්සමක් ඉදිරිපත් කළා ශ්‍රේෂ්ඨාධිකරණයෙන් පිළිසරණක් ලබා ගන්නට බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා.
Sri Lankan shares ended higher for a third straight day today, and the all-share price index ended 0.19% firmer at 6,577.84, hitting their highest close in more than 3 months. Here's Imeshi Fernando from the Colombo Stock Exchange for a detailed report.
The turnover was 860.15 million rupees with 81.03 million shares changed in hands in 6,405 trades. The market capitalization at the end of the day was 3,014.62 billion rupees. Today's foreign purchases were 354.97 million rupees and foreign sales were 282.65 million rupees. There were 3 crossings today and the crossing turnover was 160.39 million rupees.
Now let's take a look at news from overseas. War monitoring groups have confirmed that a surge in attacks by the Syrian government and its allies have killed at least 100 people in the rebel-held eastern Ghouta pocket near the Damascus in more like within the last 24 hours. It was reported that airstrikes, rocket fire and shelling in several parts of the besieged suburbs also wounded 325 people.
Bombardments by Syrian government forces have killed scores of civilians in the rebel-held eastern Ghouta area outside Damascus. If confirmed, it would make yesterday one of the deadliest days for the district since it came under siege in 2013. A war monitoring group says at least 100 civilians, including 20 children, were killed by rockets and airstrikes. The death toll is rising because medical facilities were also hit. 4 makeshift hospitals, including a maternity facility, were struck yesterday. The rebels have been responding with mortar attacks on Damascus, but the government's military might is far stronger.
You are watching Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.
Welcome back. Now it's time for sports. Chairman of the Amateur Rowing Association of Sri Lanka, Rohan Fernando, says that the National Olympic Committee of Sri Lanka is faced with politicisation and non-governance. Rohan Fernando, who will be running for the NOCSL presidency this Friday, added that in order to revive the committee, stronger regulation is required.
Very sorry state of non-governance, I would say. First signs of problems started when politics entered the Olympic movement. 2 decades ago, through political maneuvering, the Olympic Committee was managed, and since then, people at the top have crossed swords with various ministers of sports, and that reached the pinnacle in 2012-13 period. Since then, the organization that performed, won medals, got into a confrontational situation with the sports ministry, and I feel that as soon as possible we have to diffuse that situation.
He added that financial and administrative regulations need to be implemented and adhered to in order to avoid corruption within the National Olympic Committee of Sri Lanka.
So what went wrong was in 2013 all these SOPs were discarded and disregarded, and 2-3 people ran it the way they felt good for themselves. So when you violate this, what happens is what we are seeing today. No accounts being presented, accounts being, we don't know what has happened because nobody can vouch for these accounts because these have not been supported or submitted to the executive committee. So that is why we want to save it from corruption. This is an organization that belongs to the sports loving public, people who are involved in sport, and to the nation. And there's money coming from international sources, there's money coming from the taxpayers' money through the government. So all these monies have to be accounted for to the last cent. So this is why we are concerned, that is why we came out, broke ranks to save this organization, not because we are going to work for a salary.
Now moving on to cricket, Kusal Mendis says that it is his dream to be among the top 10 batsmen in the world. Fresh from his batting exploits in Sri Lanka's clean sweep of Bangladesh, Kusal Mendis, hailing from Moratuwa in an interview yesterday, disclosed details of his comeback during Bangladesh tour and an expectant future.
Opener Kusal Mendis hit a blazing half-century as Sri Lanka thrashed Bangladesh by 75 runs in the second T20 to complete a 2-0 series sweep day before yesterday. Sri Lanka rode on Mendis' 70 of 42 deliveries to post 210 for 4 and then bowled out the host for 135 in Sylhet. He was named the man of the match for both T20 internationals and rightfully named as the man of the series as well. In an interview with Sri Lanka Cricket, Mendis said that he attributes the success he had in Bangladesh to all the training he underwent to make a good comeback to the game. He also stated that head coach Chantika Hathurusinghe and batting coach Thilan Samaraweera helped him with building a good mindset following his bad patch and said it sharpened his resolve tremendously. At the end of the interview, Mendis also stated that it is his dream to be among the top 10 batsmen in the world.
You are watching Sri Lanka's #1 news channel, Derana 24/7.
Let's now cross over to CATHRINA CHANG at the Derana Weather Centre for your Forecast First evening edition.
A very good evening and welcome to Forecast First. Now, temperatures will vary between 16 and 31 degrees Celsius with low precipitation to be expected in most parts of the island over the next 24 hours. We can expect some dry weather conditions in most regions. Now, if you take a look at the map, you can see that the northern region will have some favourable weather conditions with sunny weather to be expected in the areas of Jaffna and the Trincomalee area towards the eastern coastal belt. Moving downwards, however, some wet weather can be expected in the Hambantota area, while sunny weather is to be forecast for the Colombo, Kandy and Galle region. That is it from your weather centre tonight. It's now time to take a look at your city-by-city forecast.
You are watching Sri Lanka's award-winning news channel, Derana 24/7.
And that's it from all of us here at First and 9. Just a quick heads up. This news bulletin will be followed by a panel discussion about the prevailing political climate or situation in the Maldives. And before that, and before we go, we'd like to leave you with a bird's eye view of Jaffna. Jaffna is Sri Lanka's 12th largest city and attracts a considerable tourist presence from around the world who fall in love with the tropical atmosphere that is forever present in the area. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.
Bringing you the news and information 24 hours a day. This is Sri Lanka's premier news channel, Derana 24/7.